All right, here are perfect problem 3 solutions for Math 6D. We're given these messy algebraic expressions and asked to simplify them. And a little hint, the answers should be the same. So basically what we're getting at here is kind of order of operations. I guess I can write that. And what you need to know about order of operations is kind of the PEMDAS stuff. What I mean by that is first we work inside parentheses and we take care of any exponents. Then we do multiplication and division. Most people think you do multiplication then division. You don't. Multiplication and division are a tie. And then finally addition and subtraction, also a tie. So what do you do when there's a tie? Break ties from left to right. So with that being said, I think we can tackle either of these problems. Maybe A would be a good place to start. So we got all sorts of parentheses here. 5 divided by 5 minus. Let's just take care of one at a time. So I think what will be most helpful is to just work inside these innermost parentheses, right? We have these outer parentheses, and then this little guy, which isn't, I mean, yeah, they're parentheses, but really there's nothing to do inside these parentheses, so we'll ignore those for now. But inside these parentheses, the innermost, we can simplify. So if you just look at the 8 divided by 4 times 2 plus 1, we have to figure out what order we do stuff there. There are no exponents. So we're down to multiplication and division. So we got division, multiplication, and addition. We want to do these two first, and then this one. You have to be careful here. It's tempting to do 4 times 2 is 8, and then 8 divided by 8 is 1, but that's not what you want to do, because we will do this division before this multiplication, because they tie, and we break ties going left to right. So really what we do is 8 divided by 4 is 2. So this part is 2, and then I have times this 2 plus 1. Probably could have done more than one step in that first step, but in the interest of showing what I'm doing as much as possible, I will just do one at a time. So now I got inside these innermost parentheses where I'm still working, I have multiplication and addition. But we do multiplication before addition, so 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 plus 1 is 5. So what I have is 5 divided by 5 minus what's in these parentheses, this 5. And then I got minus negative 2. Minus negative 2 is the same as plus 2. And then plus 2. So really I did two things there. 4 plus 1 is 5. Don't forget the negative. Negative 2 is the same as positive 2. All right, at this stage, I kind of reset. And now I have this other set of parentheses that I want to work inside. So we'll ignore this negative 2 for now, and this plus 2 at the end, and just work inside these parentheses. No exponents, so we're looking for multiplication and division. There's no multiplication, but we do have division here. So we want to make sure we do this before we do any of this stuff. 5 divided by 5 is just 1. Again, inside the parentheses here, we have subtraction and addition. Addition and subtraction are a tie, so we go left to right. So we have to do 1 minus 5 before we do 5 plus 2. That's important. If we did 5 plus 2 first, we'd get a different answer. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. And negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. And so now what we have is negative 2, and then inside these parentheses we're left with just negative 2, and then we got a plus 2. So now we've done everything we can inside these parentheses. I leave the parentheses just to emphasize that it's this times this. Without the parentheses there, it might look like negative 2 minus 2, but it's not. It's negative 2 times negative 2. So I got that multiplication and this addition. I do multiplication before division, so I want to do negative 2 times 2, which is positive 4. Negative times a negative is a positive. And 4 plus 2 finally is 6. That's a lot of work just to get 6 as your answer. But hopefully with all these steps you can kind of see what we're doing. Now let's take care of part B and hope we get 6 as our answer. So what I have in B is a lot of fractions. I have 9 halves, and then I have plus this negative 3 halves times 5 halves. So really what I have when you're adding a negative number, you're really just subtracting. So instead of plus negative 3 halves, how about I just write minus 3 halves? Then I want to multiply that by 5 halves, and I want to divide by negative 3 halves. I'll leave the parentheses there just so that I don't have an operation right next to an operation. And then I want to subtract negative 2/3. So really what I'm doing is adding 2/3, subtracting a negative. And then I want to multiply that by negative 9 halves. Again, I'll leave the parentheses so we can tell that we're multiplying here and not subtracting. And then add 4 halves. So I got rid of some of the parentheses where I could. Maybe that makes this a little bit easier to look at. So now what we have is we have subtraction, multiplication. Okay, so first of all, exponents. Let's look at our exponents. Inside these exponents and, parentheses. We have parentheses here and parentheses here. However, there's no work to do inside either of the parentheses. It's not like two numbers we're trying to add up or something. There's nothing left to do inside the parentheses. We're done with these. No exponents. So I'm looking for multiplication and division. I got multiplication, division, multiplication. So what do I do first? Well, since they're all tied, I go left to right. So what I want to do is negative 3 halves times 5 halves. When you're multiplying fractions, you multiply straight across. So 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times 2 is 4. And then I want to divide that by negative 3 halves. And then to that I want to add 2/3 times negative 9 halves plus 4 halves. So all I did is multiply these two numbers. Now again, I'm looking for multiplication and division. Going left to right, I see this division sign right here. So what I'm asked to do is divide this negative number and this negative number. So when you're dividing two negative numbers, what you get is a positive number, so I can make that plus. And then the way you do it is dividing by fractions is like multiplying by fractions, except you multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of 3 halves, I make it 2/3. I probably could take care of that in this step, but I'm not going to because I really want to make sure I show as many steps as possible. Try to make this easier to follow. So when I'm multiplying these across, you could say this is 30/12, right? Multiply straight across and then try to reduce that fraction. You could also cancel this 2 with one of these 2's down here, and then cancel this 3 with one of the 3's that makes up 15. If you did that, you'd only have 5 left on top, right? This turns into 5. Maybe I need a pen to show that. Well, I think that's just going to make the solution sloppy. This turns into a 5, and the 3 cancels with this 3, so these are gone. And then this turns into a 2, and the other 2 cancels with this 2, so those are gone. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is I'm left with 5 halves here. And now I got to multiply 2/3 times negative 9 halves. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then you could just multiply across, or you could cancel these two 2's. And you could cancel this 3 with one of the 3's up here and be left with just 3/1. Instead of 3/1, you could just write 3, but I'm going to leave them all as fractions because I still have some addition and subtraction to do. We're done with all the multiplication. Now we're looking for addition. We got addition, subtraction, addition. So I guess we're looking for addition or subtraction, but working from left to right. 9 halves plus 5 halves is 14 halves. Sure, minus 3/1 plus 4/2. If you simplify each of these fractions, they're all whole numbers. 14 halves is just 7. 3/1 is just 3. 4/2 is just 2. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to add 3 and 2 together. You want to work from left to right. So 7 minus 3 is 4. And 4 plus 2 is 6. Sure enough, the same thing we got over there. So there's a couple different ways you can do these, and your work might look a little bit different. But these are the basic steps, and kind of following these order of operations that solves this problem.